and welcome to Coming Soon Movie News with Nicholson. I'm your host, and on this show we're going to be talking about all of the day's movie news and kind of giving a little bit of background as to what it all means for the production in general. Over the first week, what I've been doing has been kind of giving a little bit of background on 5 major movie releases that are coming out within the next few years. First episode, I talked about the upcoming Batman vs. Superman. My second episode was about the new Spider-Man movie and their Sony shared Marvel universe that they're trying to do. Talked about Guardians of the Galaxy on day 3. Day 4, we talked about X-Men and the whole Fox shared universe they're trying to create with the new Fantastic Four film. And on this final episode, I'm going to be talking about the Avengers Age of Ultron and Marvel's planned Phase 3 cinematic universe. Basically going to get started with what we know about Age of Ultron so far. So we know that all the main characters from Avengers are going to be coming back. We know that Iron Man is going to come back. We know that Captain America is coming back, Thor, Hulk, Hawkeye, Black Widow, and they're actually being joined by 2 new members of the Avengers. They're being joined by Scarlet Witch and her brother Quicksilver. Now, a little bit of background, there's some interesting things about these characters, specifically Quicksilver. Both of these characters are able to be shown both by Fox in the X-Men movies and by Marvel Disney in the Avengers movies. Now, it was a contract that they made when they originally signed over all of the characters to Fox, that they were allowed to use these characters. Marvel was allowed to use them as well. However, there are 2 main stipulations with that. Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are actually the son and daughter of Magneto. So in the Avengers movies, they are not able to they are not allowed to reference the fact that they are the children of Magneto or that they are mutants. They can't use the term mutants. Fox, on the other hand, cannot reference the fact that they are part of the Avengers or that they have worked with other superheroes or anything of that sort. So that's really the only thing that they have to worry about, but we're actually getting 2 different versions of Quicksilver within the next 2 years. As I spoke yesterday, X-Men is actually featuring a version of Quicksilver being played by Evan Peters. I gave my little opinion on how I felt that looked. We still haven't seen how Quicksilver is going to look in the Avengers. However, we do know that Aaron Taylor Johnson from Kick-Ass and the upcoming Godzilla remake is playing Quicksilver, and Elizabeth Olsen is actually going to be playing Scarlet Witch. Now, Elizabeth Olsen is actually the younger sister of Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. Biggest difference is she actually has talent. I believe she's been nominated for an Academy Award. If she wasn't, she was nominated for a Golden Globe. I know that. She's a phenomenal actress. She's also co-starring alongside Aaron Taylor Johnson in the Godzilla remake. She's been in several other films so far. Really interesting career that she's had so far. So it's going to be nice to see her play off of Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth and all of them. See what their characters actually are going to be really doing in the movie. We don't know if essentially they're going to be bad guys who then work with them, or if they're just right off the bat going to be working with them. We still don't know. But filming has actually begun. It began at the beginning of last week in South Africa. So that's the first location that they're shooting at. We've been told that it is going to be featured. That sequence is going to be featured within the first 10 to 15 minutes of the Avengers 2. It does look as though it's an attack with Hulk. You see a truck being completely ripped apart and spun around, and there have been kind of these foam placements of the Hulk so that people have a reference point to look at, because obviously the Hulk is computer generated. He's not going to be there until they actually create him in the computer. So they need a point of reference to be able to look at so that everyone's looking in the same spot. That way you don't get somebody looking up this way and somebody looking over here and somebody looking over there. They're all supposed to be looking at the same character. So we know that he was on set. No one else has been seen yet, although there was a report that stated that Chris Hemsworth was spotted, but no one else has been able to confirm that, so we don't know if that's true or not. But as you can judge by the title, Ultron is going to be the main villain of the movie. Now, Ultron in the comics was actually created by Hank Pym, who plays Ant-Man, or who is Ant-Man, I should say. And we know Kevin Feige has come out and stated, Kevin Feige is the kind of overseer of the Marvel universe. He runs Marvel Studios, and he even has people above him. But it's essentially, if he wants something in there, it's going to be in there. And he's come out and said that Hank Pym will not be featured in the Avengers. Ant-Man comes out a few months later as the first film of Phase 3. So we know that he's not going to be in it. And the teaser footage that they showed at Comic-Con last year showed Tony Stark's Iron Man helmet slowly being morphed and transitioned into the helmet of Ultron. So a lot of people that made them believe that that Ultron was actually going to become a corrupted version of Jarvis, who is Tony Stark's butler, or potentially just a creation of Tony Stark's. With it being an artificial intelligence, a lot of people assumed that it was just going to be Jarvis gone bad. But now we know that Paul Bettany, who voices Jarvis in the Iron Man movies and in the Avengers, will be playing Vision. And in the comics, Vision was actually he was another robot or automaton, as they call him in the comics, created by Ultron to destroy the Avengers. When he went to destroy the Avengers, they convinced him that or to turn against Ultron because of what he had done and what his true aspirations were. And so then Vision joined up with the Avengers to take down Ultron. So we don't really know what path they're going to take. We know that it's called the Age of Ultron. They've confirmed that they are not taking the storyline from that comic series called Age of Ultron. They just like the title. So everything's just kind of up in the air. We don't know too much about it yet. It's still over a year away. It doesn't come out till May of 2015, so a lot of time to kind of figure out what exactly is going to be going on with the plot. It would be really interesting to see Tony Stark try to create a Jarvis that actually fits inside a suit, like a Jarvis that can walk around and he can talk to, as opposed to just one of his Iron Man suits. And then things go bad, Ultron escapes, and so then Tony Stark then has to create a suit. Jarvis maybe has also created a suit because he's the one who actually manufactures them and creates one for himself. We really don't know yet. It's just very interesting that that's the route that they've chosen to go. And we know that Vision is now going to become, or Jarvis is going to become Vision. We know that now because Paul Bettany plays both of them. And like I said, filming has begun in South Africa. They also plan to shoot in South Korea, major sequence in South Korea, as well as Italy, before moving to London, where there's going to be some live shoots in London, but majority of London shooting is going to be done on the sound stages at Shepperton Studios. That's pretty much all we know at this point about the Avengers Age of Ultron. Like I said, everybody's back. Joss Whedon, the writer and director of the original Avengers, is coming back for the second one. And when he was first asked about Avengers 2, the only comment he gave was death, death, death. Knowing Joss Whedon's past work, such as Firefly, Dollhouse, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and any of those, he loves to kill off fan-favorite characters. There's been a lot of speculation that one of the Avengers is going to be killed off. Now, we know it's not going to be Tony Stark, because Robert Downey Jr., it was very, very public that this happened. Robert Downey Jr. renegotiated for 2 more films with Disney, and they never announced which movies they were, but it's most likely Avengers 2, followed up by Avengers 3. So we know that he's not going to get killed in Avengers 2. They've already greenlit Captain America 3 and Thor 3, so we know it's not going to be either of them. And there's still going to be a standalone Hulk movie, and you can't have Hulk without Bruce Banner. That torch can't be passed. That only leaves 2 options, or 4 if you count the new ones that are coming in. So that means that either Black Widow or Hawkeye are most likely going to be the ones to bite the bullet. Kevin Feige, however, recently came out and stated that he said that Black Widow's role is very big in the Avengers 2. And they are looking to hopefully get her own standalone film. Now, this may be misdirection. This may be him coming out and saying, no, we have big plans for them, especially Black Widow. Lo and behold, Black Widow ends up being the one getting killed in the movie. I can definitely see that Black Widow has become a fan favorite, mainly due to the performance of Scarlett Johansson, who I thought did a great job. Emily Blunt originally actually was supposed to be Black Widow in Iron Man 2. And she had a scheduling conflict with, I believe, Gulliver's Travels. and she couldn't do the movie. So then they had to recast, and they cast Scarlett Johansson, and it went from there. Looking back on it now, especially with her role in the Avengers, I don't know if Emily Blunt could have done a better job. She would have done something different, absolutely. Um, but she would not. I don't necessarily would say that that's better. It would have been different, but not maybe not better. Um, a lot of people think that it's going to be Hawkeye because no one really. I mean, it's going to sound kind of callous, but no one really cares about Hawkeye. He's the least interesting character out of all of them. No fault of Jeremy Renner. Jeremy Renner did absolutely fantastic work with what he had to work with, which wasn't a lot. Now, Joss Whedon did admit that didn't have enough room for Hawkeye, but he needed another character in there. So that's why he was written the way that he was in the original. He did say that he's going to do something different with him. He may be the one to get killed at the end, but I mean that would almost be what people are expecting, and that's not Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon does not do what people are expecting, so who knows? They may even kill off Captain America and have Bucky Barnes take over as Captain America, which did happen in the comics. Maybe everyone's sidekick will get killed because there have been reports. I don't know if it's been confirmed, but Don Cheadle is going to be in Avengers 2 as War Machine. It was either him or Anthony Mackie as Falcon from Captain America: Winter Soldier. I'm almost certain that it was Don Cheadle. So maybe War Machine's going to get killed off. But War Machine in the comics took over for Iron Man, so that would then take away from the potential replacement option that they have once Robert Downey Jr. is done his contract. So we really don't know. Now, I've had a lot of questions asked to me by several people asking, well, if Robert Downey Jr. only has 2 more films, then are they going to reboot Iron Man later on? And wouldn't that screw up the continuity? If they did reboot it, it would. But Kevin Feige has come out and said that they're planning on taking the so-called James Bond route when it comes to their characters. They're not going to do a reboot. They're just going to change the actor who's playing him. Now, they may do a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the camera about it, saying like, "Ooh, did you get a treatment? You look younger," or something of that sort, or "You look a little different." You know, maybe give a little nod to the camera about that. But there's no telling as to what they're going to do with it. Joss Whedon is a creative force, so I mean, I always tip my hat off to him every time I see any of his work. He wrote Cabin in the Woods, spoke about that on one of the other episodes, and I thought that was just a phenomenally good movie. That was really well done. It took all of the horror tropes and cliches and turned them on all their heads. So he really knows what he's doing with genre work, and this being pretty much the ultimate genre work that you can do. So we're not going to know more until they actually release some footage, and I'm going to assume that it's going to be at Comic-Con. I mean, Marvel always has a massive panel at Comic-Con every year. Look at last year with Guardians of the Galaxy. They were not even 2 weeks into filming, and they had almost a full trailer to show, which was just released the other day. That was, for the most part, that was the Comic-Con footage, just touched up, tightened up, finished special effects, or mostly finished special effects. So hopefully they'll have something to show at Comic-Con. I bet they will, and I bet that will take Comic-Con, as they call it. Last year was the Batman versus Superman announcement, but this year's going to be Avengers 2. And most likely the Phase 3 announcements, which we know one of them 100% because they've already got it cast. They're going to be starting production pretty soon, and that's Ant-Man. Ant-Man comes out in July of 2015, so only a few months after the Avengers, and we have Paul Rudd playing Scott Lang. And a lot of people were really kind of confused when they announced that that Paul Rudd was cast in the movie, because they said that he was cast as Ant-Man. They never said if he was Hank Pym, if he was Scott Lang, or any of the other versions of Ant-Man. And so when they came out and said that he was Scott Lang, everyone was a little disappointed. And then I believe it was the next day they announced that Michael Douglas has been cast as Hank Pym. So what they've done is they've actually now included both versions of Ant-Man in the same movie. So Michael Douglas is playing the sort of 60s version of Hank Pym, so we're going to see him maybe as the original Ant-Man. And Scott Lang in the comics was a thief who stole the suit and then became the second version of Ant-Man. And then one theory in this movie is that they're actually going to team up eventually and both be Ant-Man and both be fighting at the same time, which I think would be really cool. But it's being directed by Edgar Wright, who did Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and At World's End, or The World's End, which just came out this year, the pub movie, the alien invasion pub movie, which I thought was hilarious. I thought it was great. It was a good finish to the Cornetto trilogy, as they call it, the Blood and Ice Cream trilogy, as it's also referred to. These guys have a great sense of humor, so it's going to be really interesting to see where they go from here, and especially him tackling a full-on superhero film. We know for a fact that they have 3 more dates set aside. They have 2 in 2016, and they have 1 in 2017. Now, I'm almost certain that they're going to add on another one in 2017, so they're going to have 5 films in total, and then finish that off with Avengers 3 in 2018. Now, right after Thor came out, after looking at the box office, they said, okay, we're going to move ahead with Thor 3, which was almost a no-brainer. I mean, you could tell that they were going to do it, we just didn't know where it was going to fit in. So they've come out and they've said that we're working on Thor 3. And they are also working on Captain America 3, even though Winter Soldier hasn't opened yet. Doesn't open up for a little over a month now. But those are cash cows. Those are going to make money. And the main reason that Marvel is doing it, a lot of people say, well, they keep just doing sequels to their already established characters. Why don't they bring out new ones? And it's because these movies, and a couple of people online have actually stated this, and this is a very good point. These movies will generate the profits that they can use to fund the movies that are more risky, such as Guardians of the Galaxy, which is coming out. That was funded almost entirely from Avengers. So they now have the ability to take more risks with Guardians of the Galaxy. That's then followed up by Avengers 2. That's a good offset. Even if it doesn't do very well, which I think it'll do really well, but if it doesn't do very well, Marvel's next film is Avengers 2, which is going to make so much money. That is going to make back that money that they could have potentially lost. But then looking at Ant-Man, again, it's an unestablished item. They don't have as big of a following as, say, Iron Man or Captain America or Thor. So it's another risk. And even if that one doesn't make a lot of money, they have the Avengers, they have Captain America, they have Thor, they potentially have Iron Man if they decide to do another Iron Man movie. So these movies allow for them to do the more riskier properties. And one other one that's been rumored has been either Doctor Strange or Black Panther. Now, Doctor Strange, the thing about that is it would really open up the cosmic aspect of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. When looking at Thor, in the movie Thor, he describes, your ancestors called it magic. You call it science. I come from a place where they're one in the same. So even then, they were still dismissing magic as a form of science, as being able to be described scientifically. If they bring in Doctor Strange, he's full-on magic, and they have to announce and establish that magic exists in this universe. And if that's the case, anything goes. Then you could deal with multiple universes. It could end up getting really confusing and just kind of getting out of hand. However, I don't think that that's the route that they would take. I do think that they are going to do a Doctor Strange. That's almost been all but confirmed. Even Kevin Feige's come out and said that we want to do one. But they haven't actually put pen to paper yet. They haven't stated Doctor Strange is coming. They have not come out and said that. Black Panther is also another one. Now, Black Panther, the main tie-in that he has is he comes from, or he's known as T'Challa, and he comes from a place called Wakanda. And Wakanda is located in Africa, which they're filming in South Africa. People have speculated that Black Panther's going to be showing up, but I mean, they haven't come out and said yes or no. There hasn't even been anything from the studio saying that he might even be in it. There's nothing. We don't know anything yet. But there was a meteor that crashed in his country of Wakanda that was made up of vibranium, which is the very rare material that Captain America's shield is made out of. It's a vibration-absorbing material. So that's how that would tie in with all the other characters. And Black Panther was also the very first original African-American superhero. So I know that Marvel is very keen on getting him out the door because they've had great success so far with War Machine who's now Iron Patriot, and soon to have success with Falcon in Captain America Winter Soldier, played by Anthony Mackie, that guy looks awesome. I mean, he's got mechanical wings, he's firing Uzis off while flying around, being chased by a jet. I think it looks great. Um, so it's going to be really interesting to see what direction that they go in. If the lineup ends up becoming Ant-Man, Captain America 3, Thor 3, and then Doctor Strange, and then potentially either Black Panther, or one theory that's been going around, and I mentioned this the other day, that Guardians of the Galaxy or Guardians of the Galaxy sequel may get a spot in Phase 3 if it does well. I don't know. If Marvel's plan is leading up to the Infinity Gauntlet, which we're pretty sure that it is, I mean, if you freeze frame in the movie Thor, you can see it, the actual gauntlet, but it doesn't have the gems. And so they've been working on finding the 6 gems. So if that's the way that they are going, I mean, Gamora is the daughter of Thanos, who turns against him. Thanos is the one who's going after the Infinity Gauntlet. He's the purple-headed guy at the end of Avengers who turns his head and smiles. So Gamora is the daughter of Thanos. And Drax, his family was killed by Thanos, and he is going after him. He's in search of revenge. So those two characters right there are directly linked to Thanos. It's also cosmic aspects. So if that's the case, we could see potentially the Guardians of the Galaxy teaming up with the Avengers in the Avengers 3 to go up against Thanos. And if that's the case, you're probably going to see majority of them all die. And I'm talking about the Avengers cast right now. So if let's say Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch do survive and they stay on with the team and you have 8 people in total, I can see in Avengers 3, especially considering his contract's up, Iron Man getting killed, or Tony Stark getting killed, Black Widow and Hawkeye most likely getting killed, Thor, no, Captain America, potentially, because you got somebody, other people can come in and replace him. And maybe even one of the newcomers, Scarlet Witch or Quicksilver. Hey, maybe even Vision joins up with them. We don't know. We don't know the extent of his role in the movie. We don't know if he's going to be a good guy. We don't know if he's going to be a bad guy. He's mostly portrayed as a good guy. He's mostly portrayed as actually a member of the Avengers. So potentially he could be a good guy. He could join up and then become destroyed in the third one. But it's going to be an end-all be-all with Avengers 3. Because they are going to be finalizing their trilogy, their first 3 phases, and they are going to be moving on to Phase 4. Now remember, Marvel has all the way up to 2021 planned. They know what they want to have out by those dates. They have their roadmap. And with this being 2014, that's 7 years. The amount of headway that they have with these projects is the reason why they've been successful time after time after time. They plan them out so well and so intricately that they all work well together. They're all cohesive. They have elements that merge well with one another, little nods to each property, but still being a standalone story. One fear that a lot of people had was after the original Avengers that, well, if Iron Man's fighting somebody and he's having a tough time, why doesn't he just call Thor and have Thor come in and help him? And Iron Man 3 and Thor 2 have both very well established that these guys don't necessarily need to have stories that encompass everybody. They can have self-contained stories and not need to rely on anybody else to come in and help. So it's interesting to see these team-up movies like the Avengers, or I mean, some people have been calling Captain America Winter Soldier a team-up movie. Look, you have from the Avengers, you have Captain America, you have Black Widow, you have Nick Fury, you have Maria Hill, Falcon is joining them, and you have Bucky Barnes coming back. There's a lot. That's a team-up movie right there, but it's just not as extensive as something like the Avengers. So we're going to have to wait and see exactly as to how all of these characters are going to interact with one another, and then once we get a better idea, then we can see a little bit more of their roadmap that they have planned out. Because we still don't know, even most of Phase 3 we don't know. We're speculating right now that Cap 3 and Thor 3 are going to be part of Phase 3. And I can't argue with that, especially if they are planning on finalizing this trilogy of Avengers films. But Thor 3, or Captain America 3 I should say, could be the opening movie of Phase 4. They may put a 6th film in there. We don't really know yet. Phase 3 could have 3 films a year. and do 6 films and then have an Avengers 3 to introduce more characters so that they can actually have a chance at fighting Thanos. Um, so yeah, I mean, we're not really going to know 100% until more information comes out. I'm assuming, again, with most big comic book films, I'm assuming Comic-Con is going to be when we're going to find out. I'm really excited. I'm actually hopefully going to be attending Comic-Con this year. The tickets are going to be coming on sale very shortly. They've said by spring, so probably within the next few weeks, they'll be coming out, or the next month, I should say. And when I go there, I will be reporting from there. We'll have a show up daily, or maybe even 2 daily, just about the halls that I've been in, if I've been able to get into the Marvel Hall, Hall H, and just going on and seeing all the new videos that they're going to be putting out. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm very excited about it. But until next time, this has been the final episode of the first week of Coming Soon, Movie News with Nicholson. Starting next week, I'm going to be doing the main version of the show, which will be dealing with all of the movie news that has come out on that day or the day previous that I wasn't able to cover. So it's going to be a little bit more fast-paced of a show. It's not just going to be me just sitting here rambling on about one topic. I know that can get a little tiring. And eventually, hopefully within the next few weeks, or maybe even within the next 2 months, I'm eventually going to be getting other people to come on the show so we can have a discussion about movie topics. So a couple of really interesting ideas that I have for the show, so keep yourselves tuned. So this is going to be my last video of the week. We'll be coming back Monday night for the next episode. And until then, guys, subscribe, enjoy, and you guys have yourselves a great day. Cheers.